Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to you. And I now hand over to Shama to start the proceeding for today.
Thank you, Rita ma'am. Good morning to one and all. On behalf of the Food and Nutrition Department of Maniben Nanavati Women's College, I, Mrs. Shama Savan, welcome you all. The 16th of October every year is celebrated as World Food Day. This day marks the foundation of Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations. It was established on 16th October 1945. This year's theme on for World Food Day is Grow, Nourish, Sustain Together. This day is very well described by United Nations as the day of action against hunger. Keeping the above theme in mind, we have invited an eminent speaker, Mrs. Nazneen Hussain. She will be sharing her views on lesser known grains of India, the millets. It's my proud privilege to introduce Mrs. Nazneen Hussain, who has been associated with the department since many years. It was under the able guidance it was under her able guidance that our department started various activities at Adapt Center for Spastic Children or Special Children. Just a moment. Yeah. Mrs. Nazneen Hussain is the founder director, Freedom Wellness Management. She is in the National Executive Committee member of Indian Dietetic Association. She is nutritional advisor at INS Hamla Joint Services Institute of Catering Technology. She is the head dietitian at the Yoga Institute at Santa Cruz. She is the chief nutritionist for Steadfast Football Academy Soccer. She is associated with Elite Schools of Mumbai as a school nutritionist, and also she is a consultant and a member in the advisory board. She is nutritionist to many leading corporate houses for corporate wellness workshops. Her current areas of interest include the research in lifestyle management, her nutritional counselor for famous sports celebrities and also Bollywood actors. She is a regular columnist in newspapers, television shows, and also she's always seen at radio interviews. She is trustee of the Equal Streets Movement and Mumbai Carefree Day. I welcome you, ma'am, and over to you, Nazeen, ma'am.
Thank you, Shama. Thank you, Rita ma'am. It is a sheer pleasure to be here, and I always feel so close to the college and to all you lovely students. And congratulations on all the activity. And we've arrived here at a very, very important day of the World Food Day. So without much ado, I am going to just take you through this, a beautiful presentation today, which we call, sorry, I just put it on a slideshow.
Okay. Girls, please mute yourselves. Pearl, just check up and mute them.
Done, ma'am.
So, like Shama ma'am actually explained that today is the World Food Day, and we're looking at food which, not only nourishes us, but is also sustainable. Okay, so one such food is millets, and the tagline says forgotten foods, which means our grandfathers, our forefathers always eat millets, but somehow we've forgotten this journey, and we are kind of bringing it back into our system for all you millennials who are the future of India. So what are millets? Millets is a cereal that belongs to the Poaceae family, commonly known as the grass family. So it's essentially a grass. Okay. They are ancient grains. In fact, it's interesting to know that right from the Vedic literature, millets have been mentioned over there. They are also coarse grains. Okay, it's both. Actually, it's considered as a zero waste food because it is used for humans, livestock, and bird feeds. Of lately, sadly enough, we are only using it for bird feed. you know, and the birds are getting healthier and humans are getting more unhealthier. So we need to change this whole trend. Okay. Traditionally, millets were grown in the Indian subcontinent way back in the 5,000, before 5,000 years also, and it has a very high nutritional content, which we will see in the lecture further. So some of the Indian heroes are the bajra, the sorghum, that is the jawar, ragi or finger millet. We have the porso millet, we have the kangani or the foxtail millet, kodra, kodo millet. A lot of these are also used as fasting foods, the samai and the jangara. Okay, so when we look at food security, okay, what does food security mean? Which means that at least everybody should have enough food to eat. Okay, so initially millets were also tagged as a poor man's food, surely because of its affordability. Also, our government, and you know that Prime Minister Modi is driving this whole movement called the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So he's trying to promote a lot of our own cultivation. Thus, millets are also included in the PDS, that's the public distribution scheme, and also it is included as a part of the midday meals. Now, however, recent times millet has gained a lot of popularity because of young fitness enthusiasts like you all, who are now suddenly understanding the wellness potential of this millet, because it's a healthy food, it's a gluten-free food, it has a lot of fiber, it has a lot of immune boosters. Thus, millet is now becoming extremely popular in the entire fitness category, also the whole millennial category, which are the younger people. Recently, the government of India, earlier it was called a pseudo cereal, okay, but recently the government of India has also rechristened millets known as nutri cereals, okay, which means that millets are nutritionally superior to other major cereals, which would be wheat and rice for their carbohydrates, for their energy, as a source of protein, higher dietary fiber, more vitamins and minerals, more antioxidants, and more, right? So because these are much richer than the rice and wheat, they have got the term called the nutri cereals. It's very interesting. In fact, you may be interested to know that in 2018 we celebrated the millet year in India, and in 2023 we are actually celebrating an international year of millets. Okay, so the whole of India actually is getting prepped to arrive at millets in a big way, and we see all of you all also as great partners who can share this entire millet message forward. So millets are great for the environment. Why? If you look at this chart, you will just see that the amount of rainfall which is required by traditional foods like sugarcane, banana, rice is much more, whereas a millet is like a humble nutri cereal which can grow in very little water. And that is why if you see, millet was a very popular food in Saurashtra and Rajasthan, where the rainfall was very little. Okay, and most of the time the bajri, roti, etc. were very popular there. And if you read a little more about food history, they also say that, you know, back then in the war times, people didn't have so much to eat. So all that they got was like one bajri ka roti, and on which they actually won a lot of wars against the Mughals and the invaders, and thus the strength of the human was contributed highly to his bajri consumption. Yeah, bajra again is a very high source of iron also. So thus, ICRISAT and the FAO and WHO have termed millets as smart foods, which means it's good for us, good for the planet, and good for the smallholder farmer. So it is a win-win situation for all of them. It's a zero waste food. Okay. So whilst we know that millets have many benefits, they are very high in antioxidants. It has the highest folic acid content. You know, and all of you all have been going to adapt, and you all know that one of the reasons that low folic acid can cause spina bifida. Okay, and we see a lot of our patients with cerebral palsy there. And you look at the folic acid content over here. Only if women pre-pregnancy started eating a lot of millets, we would really do well. It's something as simple as that. Millets are also highly digestible with, and it's also gluten free. And this term of gluten free has made it very has helped it to make a comeback somewhere, because a lot of people are now facing challenges with gluten, and that is why they want to go on a gluten free diet. And gluten free cereals and millet are a very viable option there. It may also help to fight against certain diseases like cancer, diabetes, heart disease. We'll look at all these benefits as we go. They're also very low in GI. Thus, it helps tremendously for managing blood sugars and the diabetic population. Okay. Like I said earlier, also they are used as sustainable foods even by the governments because of very high protein, vitamin, and micronutrient content. So across the world, millets are used very regularly. Something like finger millets, that's your ragi, has almost around 340 milligrams of per 100 gram of calcium, which is almost close to 3 times that of milk. And so a lot of people, young innovators, young entrepreneurs, and a lot of y'all may want to take entrepreneurship later on, have done a lot of innovation with millets, and they've made something like a ragi buttermilk, and which is again very high in calcium, and it's very apt for people who are lactose intolerant or who have too much of celiac and Crohn's disease. So it is suitable to all of them. Again, pearl millet, that is your bajra, very high in iron, very high in zinc. And that is why today we also look at millets as immunoboosters. Okay. It is good for the planet. Like Shama ma'am said earlier, sustainable. So what do we understand by sustainable? So here is, we have the hardy and the drought tolerant, which means that millets are only grown in very arid lands. It doesn't require too much of water. You owning a little annual rainfall also, it will manage itself. Okay, so also it helps in this whole global warming scenario, and millets can survive the droughts. They can survive any drastic climatic changes also. Hence, it's a very sustainable food. Okay, they need very little water. Again, same thing I'm showing you in a different form. And they are heat tolerant. They can tolerate temperatures up to 64 degrees, which means they can even grow in dry, arid deserts, right? Okay. Also, they grow much faster. So they grow in something like around 60 to 65 days, the entire crop is ready, which means the farmer can capitalize on this much more. कि बार बार अगर grow करेगा तो उतना income उसको definitely मिलेगा. And they require very little fertilizers and no pesticides. I've taken all these slides from the ICRISAT, which has done some phenomenal work also in the millet space. Okay, and it brings a lot of diversity on the farm for sustainable agriculture. Okay, now greater yield means more money for the farmer, and an average rain-fed sorghum yield is as low as 600 kgs per hectare, when the realistic potential can be 3 times more. So only if we concentrate, but this is demand and supply. If we demand more, probably the farmers will grow more. And when the farmers grow more, they themselves can earn a lot of money, and we will improve our health. So remember, good for us, good for the environment, good for the farmers. So that is the major mantra over here. So when we look at these beautiful millets, and because we have Rita ma'am and Shama ma'am here, ma'am, I would also definitely request you to, next time when the students are going to Hyderabad, to visit the Nutri Hub, that is the Indian Institute of Millet Research, where they've done some phenomenal work. They also do a lot of research with the millets. They have a lab. They also have something called an incubation center, which kind of, if any of you young girls would want to take up entrepreneurship, in future, y'all can go and become an incubator over there. They have all the facilities for processing the millets for research and R&D, which can be fabulous, right? So now we deep dive into some of the millets on what it actually means. Okay, so when we're categorizing millets, one is called the naked grain and one is called the husk grain. Naked grain that it doesn't have a cover over it, husk grain that it has a cover on it. So the naked grains are devoid of the hard indigestible husk. Okay, the three popular types of millets are the ragi, the jawar, the bajra. Okay, because they don't require too much of processing, they can be simply cleaned and used. They are often used much more than the other smaller millets. The husk grains would be the foxtail millets, the little millets, the kodo millet, the banyan millet. These have an indigestible seed coat. So they require some amount of processing because the husk needs to be removed. Only then it can be used fit for human consumption. Okay, so we can safely say now that the millets also have some kind of a nutraceutical property, which means they have a little medicinal property which comes in form of nutrition. Okay, they are gluten free. Okay, they have a very alkaline nature, and when you study a lot of science, you will understand that acidic foods cause more diseases. Alkaline foods help as a natural protection, and millets are those natural alkaline foods and may help in, you know, natural protection, especially for cancer. Another emerging health problem which we know today is metabolic syndrome, and it's characterized by insulin resistance and visceral adiposity. So this has largely happened because lot of people earlier, pehle ke zamane mein, people used to include millets, which was very high in fiber. But now what has happened is we've gone to more and more refining of food. Okay, the more refining food, more increase of metabolic syndrome, more refined carbs, more challenges with the insulin, and hence probably if you stop, pause, think, millets can be a very viable solution also in handling metabolic syndrome. So we already spoke that it is very high in lignans, phenolic compounds, vitamins, minerals, a lot of antioxidants. And one thing you must remember, the darker the millet, the higher the phenolic compound. Like the ragi, the bajra, the porso millet, because they are dark in color, their polyphenol compounds are much, much higher. Yeah. Then we also have positive impact on reducing diseases like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and hypercholesterolemia. Millets today, and in a very pandemic situation, we are talking about millets. We're talking about a lot of immunoboosters, and people are really, becoming more and more aware. And here we can safely say that millets can also be used as immune boosting foods, because look at the finger millet, that is the ragi. It has a very high calcium and phosphorus content. Okay, the pearl millet again has a very high iron content. It's almost 6.4 grams, which is highest amongst all the other cereals. Okay, finger millet, the calcium content is almost 364 milligrams per 100 ml. Kodo millet and little millet have very high fiber, because of which they are, a lot of research also has been done to show that it can have a protective effect both in heart disease as well as diabetes. The porso millet again, is very rich in the essential amino acids leucine, isoleucine, and methionine than the wheat protein. So why and we always say have the millet in combination with the legumes and the pulses so that it becomes a complete food. Okay, so it's always nice to complement your millets with the pulses so that we are making rich use of all these essential amino acids which are much higher than the traditional cereals. Plus the pulses can make it a very nice superfood combination, right? Then we look at also some of the antioxidants, and here we look at anti-inflammatory properties. So a lot of research studies was done, especially with the ferulic acid, and it has shown to help in wound healing, skin protection, and anti-inflammatory properties. Millets also have the catechins, which bind to the heavy metals in the body and prevent metal poisoning. Okay, so darker the millet, the better than the yellow colored ones. Okay, they may also help in controlling blood sugars because it has a lower GI. It is unlikely that the blood sugar levels may get spiked. However, one thing remember, once we always talk about the glycemic index, but the glycemic load also is very important. So whilst bajra roti is good for you, bajra bhakri is good for you, but हमारा जो normal roti फुल्का होता है ये 20 या 30 grams का होता है, but bajra bhakri is almost a big fat bhakri which is almost around 100 to 120 grams. So you need to understand that the portions of it should be lesser. Okay, so you have half a bhakri instead of having the full bhakri. So don't overdose. Just because it's good, it doesn't mean that you can eat ad libitum. Quantity and portion sizes always need to be maintained. Okay. Another study which they did was with almost over 105 people, and here they looked at a millet-based breakfast. Okay, and they saw that overall the blood sugar levels definitely dropped. This could be attributed because of the higher protein, the higher fiber of the millet, and of course, like I said, combine it with a pulse or combine it with milk and dairy for blunting the glycemic index completely. Also, they did some other studies with pre-diabetics, which gave a similar result. They showed that around eating around 1/3 cup of foxtail millet per day, there was a slight reduction in the insulin and the post-meal sugar, as well as decrease in the insulin resistance. Here, when we look at insulin resistance for we know that it is a marker for type 2 diabetes. It occurs when the body stops to responding to the hormone insulin, which regulates the blood sugar levels. In another research, what they found was a 6-week study in rats with diabetes containing finger millet led to lower fasting levels and a drop in triglyceride level and cholesterol. One would often ask that ragi is a high GI food, and can it be had by people who have higher blood sugar levels? It can be had, but you can have it in combination in a smaller quantity. Jawar and bajra are more preferable. Foxtail millet, porso millet are very high in fiber, so you can use that as a millet. Ragi can be used, but you use it in combination with high fiber pulses like your chana, your chole, your moong, your mat. You can sprout it and use it. Thereby the the glycemic load of that meal is much lesser, and thus it can be very helpful. Okay, when we look at lowering cholesterol, millets, because it has a very high soluble fiber, it becomes viscous in the gut, and it helps in trapping the fats and helps in reducing cholesterol. A lot of studies also have been done to see that it also helps in reducing the triglyceride level. Okay. Additionally, because it is higher in protein, that also may overall help in contributing to this significance. Some other studies also showed that it helped not only in decreasing the triglyceride, but also had a significant increase in the adiponectin and the HDL level, which is a good cholesterol. And you know that to increase HDL, there are very few foods which actually increase HDL. So this was a very good study. It's still at the animal trial level, but we hope to see more human interventions also over here. Also, we know that adiponectin is has an anti-inflammatory effect, and it supports the heart health. and it stimulates fatty acid oxidation. Its levels are low, generally lower in obesity and type 2 diabetes. Okay. Uh, the next one is it is fit to be termed as a gluten-free diet, and a lot of people today, we know that one of the riding food trends is also gluten-free diets. Okay, and whilst it is a trend, it is a reality for those who have with celiac disease and with Crohn's disease and who have too much of GI distress. So we know that gluten is a protein that occurs in wheat, grains like wheat, barley, uh, etc. So when a person who has gluten intolerance or celiac disease, they must avoid these to kind of avoid their symptoms of nutrient malabsorption and diarrhea. So one good tip for all of y'all is when you are going to shop for millets, you need to look at a label called gluten free, because many a times, if you're buying flour, and especially for the ones who have celiac disease, चक्की में जब आटा पिसाते हैं तो they grind the jawar and the bajri and the ragi also in the same chakki. Okay, so there may be cross contamination of the wheat, and that should be avoided. Yeah. Okay. However, with all these benefits, there are some downsides also of using the millets because of its very high fiber content. Okay, they have some anti-nutrients. These are mostly phytic acids, and we know that phytic acids interfere with the potassium, calcium, iron, magnesium uptake. Thus, it's important to balance the diet. You can don't overdo it. Moderation always is a key word, and processing helps in reducing all these phytic acid levels. The other things are we know that today a lot of people have thyroid disorders, and too much of consumption, especially have goitrogenic phenols, which may impair the thyroid function and cause a goiter or an enlargement of the thyroid gland, which results in the neck swelling. Okay. However, enough research goes to show that only excessive consumption can cause this effect. Okay, there was a beautiful study which was done here, and it showed that it was more prevalent in almost when the person consumed almost 74% of daily calories as compared to only 37% of the daily calories. So again, eating smaller portions each day is okay. Don't overdo it. Only then the goitrogenic effects can come in. How can you lower the anti-nutrient content of the millets? Can we do that? Yes, certainly we can do it. So we can soak the millet overnight at room temperature, then drain it and rinse it. Also, if you sprout the millet, that reduces the anti-nutrient content. Sprouting of the millet also can be done in a very simplistic way. All that you do is you soak the millet in the jar. Okay, you cover the glass jar with either with a cloth and the rubber band. You turn the burnie upside down, turn the jar upside down, and let rinse the millet every 12 to 8 hours, 8 to 12 hours. You will notice these small beautiful sprouts coming in, and you can enjoy it right away. You can also steam the sprouts a little, add it to your salads, add it to your vegetables, use it in different forms for consumption. Traditionally, how do we process these millets? We soak them, we ferment them, we germinate them, or we mull them. Okay, so all of these are very important features, and if you look at our forefathers, they're always engaged in these kind of activities. Okay, thus millet is a versatile ingredient, and it's a good replacement for rice when cooked as a whole. It's easy. You can cook a lot of millets like your foxtail, your porso, your little millet. 1 cup of millet, 2 cups of water. You soak them overnight to reduce the anti-nutrient content, and you cook them. You can use it in your pulaus, your biryanis, or your khichadis. Millet also is sold as a flour, so then it just dry roast the millet. The roasting also helps in bringing out that beautiful nutty flavor which the millet has, and can also reduce the anti-nutrition content. Okay. Besides that, a lot of innovation around millet is being done, where today people are looking at making snacks, pastas, noodles, non-dairy probiotic beverages. Also, millets again have a lot of natural prebiotic because of the fiber content, and can help a lot in the gut health. You can also use in the commercial context, a lot of innovation has been done as millet as breakfast, as a side dish. You can add it to your salad. You can make some cookies or healthy pizza bases. A lot of today now during the pandemic time, I've seen a lot of people also baking with millets like ragi, jawar, bajra. So some natural tips is, if you're using ragi, a good way to use ragi is always blend it with the chocolate, because it's brown. It gets this beautiful chocolate cookie or a chocolate pancake, or anything with chocolate. But remember, using one ingredient which is healthy is not enough. Make sure that the other ingredients are also low fat, low sugar, low salt. Okay, so HFS is a initiative which we are driving. So if you are making one thing healthy, that doesn't mean to make substitute it. The overall dish should be healthy. So be aware of whenever you're trying to make it innovative, but it has to be healthy, right? A lot of other novel processing technologies are also used at an industry level to improve the micronutrients and the quality of millets in the diet. And just these are some of my last few fun slides on what you students can actually do with the millets. So with your foxtail, you can make your pulao, biryani, rice, dosa, rava dosa, khichadis, upmas, payasams. It's very yummy. Okay. Bajra, again, we know it can be used as bhakri. A lot of people are actually using innovations of bajra in cookies, in pizza bases, in biscuits. Okay. When we look at kodra, we're looking at a whole lot of traditional foods. These can also be used. Just now we have the Navratra, and a lot of people can actually use these as fasting foods. Jawar again is very versatile, can be used in different forms, right from your dosa to your bhakri to biscuits to porridges to your biryanis, all of it. Ragi again can be used in your dosas, rotis, porridges, idlis, noodles, cakes. Okay, we have the buckwheat or the kuttu again, very versatile and can be used in various forms. Here, these can be used as biscuits and porridges, and can be, the quinoa again is the new entry into the Nutri cereal list. However, one thing is that the quinoa is more expensive than the other millets. So you look at, there is no need to put quinoa on a diet who for a person who is cannot afford it. You can look at foxtail and it would give you a similar benefit. You could look at jawar, which is cheaper, and it would give you a similar benefit. However, there is a category of people who can afford it and who want to explore more things. Then definitely you can prescribe quinoa. Again, quinoa has all the 9 essential amino acids and can be had by those people who can afford it, because the cost of quinoa is pretty high. Okay, so these are some of my last 2 slides. Is millet a carbohydrate or a protein? So millets definitely are a carbohydrate. It's not a protein. Okay, but they have higher protein content than the other traditional cereals. Which is better, oats or a millet? Both of them, oats and millets, are both high fiber. However, oats, rolled oats may be processed and may take a second position as compared to the whole millets, which are not so processed. Okay. Is millet bad for thyroid? Yes, at this point of time, millets are goitrogenic, and which means that they may interfere with the iodine absorption in the body. Hence, one needs to limit the millet in people who have more thyroid problems. Okay. And which is the best millet? Almost every millet has its own positives. Okay. So depending on which dish or what recipe you want to make, you can include millets. Make these beautiful recipes, and all of you girls are so innovative. I have been to the college also for judging a lot of recipes, and I think sky is the limit for all the innovation for all of you all. So enjoy the cooking. And my final takeaways is that millet is a family of grains that falls under ancient category. There are a wide range of gluten-free benefits which come from various recipes made by millets. Millets are identified with our own traditional. They are grown they are grown by poor dryland farmers. They are zero waste food. They must be recognized as an important food, not only as nutritionists but also in enhancing immunity of humans and tackling with various diseases and a current virus. And millets can be used as a staple cereal, and thus it can be a sustainable food. So good for you, good for the environment, and good for the farmers. So with that, happy eating, healthy eating, a millety eating to all of you all. Eat balanced, eat happy, eat sustainable foods. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take.
Thank you, Nazneen ma'am.
Nazeen, you can stop sharing the screen. Yes. And we can see you.
Yes.
A fantastic presentation. Shama, you can
Absolutely.
take over the question answers.
Yes. Ma'am, before we proceed with the question answer, one thing which I wanted to ask, that how about couscous? I don't know how do we pronounce, is it right or no? Yeah. So compared to that particular grain or millet with the indigenous millets, what is your take on it?
So couscous is mostly grown more in the Mediterranean region,
Yeah.
especially in regions of Turkey, etc.
Correct.
However, it does have gluten. So in terms of
Oh.
it, whilst it is a healthy product, it does have gluten. But yes, it is a good product. It's also
Okay.
very versatilely used in
Mhm.
salads, etc.
Yeah.
So, but it's in India, it is expensive because we import
Yeah.
most of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Few questions. Can we take millets for daily diets? I think the answer is
Yes, it
already.
can be taken for daily diets.
Girls, please mute yourself. Yes.
What should be the portion size? You can look at around 3 to 4 exchanges of millets in your entire day, which can be so it's a replacement for the other cereals. So probably a good idea would be you can replace your breakfast cereal, or you can replace one meal where you can have your jawari roti or your bajra roti instead of the other ones.
Right. Ma'am, what type of programs do you suggest for the awareness of millets, so that the use of millets can be increased, as it is actually a staple thing was a staple thing rather in our country. So how can we have such?
I think programs like these, where we have all these beautiful young girls who are listening to this lecture, and I mean, I'm sure that I wish all of you all to go back, ask your mom, your nani, your dadi, pehle millet se kya banate the? Yeah, and let's retrieve these recipes. Okay. Yes, it doesn't. Sometimes I understand a lot of young people want to eat something in a fancier format. So the same bhakri can become your pizza base. Okay. And you can, so the idea is to glamorize this entire millet. Okay. we know it's good for our health, but it doesn't look so wow. So I think that wow effect is what we need to create, and that's why we are looking at all these young minds to kind of engage with
Right.
us.
True. Ma'am, even I feel that those traditional recipes which people, as you said earlier, used to prepare, like for example, khichda, which
Yeah.
has got so many grains in it. So that also, if we can promote, that is one of the best things,
Yes.
right?
So definitely, Shama ma'am, like you said, one is reviving our own traditional recipes.
Correct.
Okay, and they are really phenomenal and they taste really good. And the second is probably using the base of millets and adapting it to
Right.
global cuisines.
Correct. Can millets be recommended for kidney patients?
No, you will have to, because of the high phosphorus and
Calcium.
the potassium content, you will have to restrict that. Don't go overboard on that. We will
Right.
have to look at the clinical conditions and only then
Hmm.
proceed.
Any data on phosphorus and potassium content of the millets like kodo, porso, and brown top millet?
Yes, I can. What I'll do is I will. If you just give me a minute, actually, because our lecture was short. So I kind of
Yeah,
I didn't include those slides. I hid all
correct.
those slides.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry. Okay.
no
One.
problem.
Yeah. If you want, I can send this presentation
Yes,
to.
and
Uh,
yes, ma'am. In
and
fact, I was going to tell you the same, that
yeah,
if
we
you can
can.
share your presentation,
Nasmin,
then
you can
that will
send
be,
us the
yes,
presentation. That would be nice. Now, there
nice.
was somebody, one person is asking why minor millets are not popular in North India. And actually, I'm just butting in because I don't want you all to miss the many questions which have come here.
Yeah. So minor millets, because they are not grown there. I mean, geographically
Hmm.
they are grown
Yeah,
more in southern India. In
correct.
fact, you may be interested to know that the government of Odisha has taken up millets in a big way, and they are,
Mhm.
because that again the geography supports the growth. In
Okay.
northern India, what is grown mostly is jawar.
We.
Okay, so that is why I mean those recipes are not so popular in
Hmm.
northern India.
Correct, correct.
Yeah.
Girls, any more questions?
I think,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, people have asked whether it will help
Yes.
reduce weight, which was, I think this is people who have
She
probably
had
have come in a
covered.
little late because you've been very clear on that
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, it
That she has already
definitely
spoken.
helps in weight loss because it is very high in fiber, and also the protein content is great. And like I said earlier, also combine it with your pulses to have a better amino
Hmm.
acid composition.
Correct.
Fiber also is a double dose. Then it acts as a superfood. You can also include it with your dairy, so it helps in blunting your blood sugar levels also.
Someone has asked, what is the portion size for a diabetic patient?
So the portion sizes should be not more than 4 servings. And again, combination of food is important over there. So if you're
Correct.
using it for breakfast, probably combine it with a bowl of dahi. If you're a
Hmm.
vegetarian, or probably add a boiled egg with the millet dosa or millet idli. So that will help in blunting the sugar
Right.
levels.
What kind things of or labels should be taken care while purchasing the packaged millet flour?
Okay, so when you're looking at packaged millet flour, you look at if it is a multi-grain millet
Hmm.
thing. Okay, read the percentages. Obviously, the names which come first, which means those
Yeah,
quantities are much
it's
more.
more.
Okay,
Hmm.
also look for the gluten-free label. Okay,
Hmm.
especially if you are taking it for the celiac patients. ओके
Correct.
बिकॉज a lot of times क्योंकि चक्की सेम होता है तो आटा क्रॉस
Hmm. Hmm.
कंटेमिनेशन हो जाता है so that may
Right.
be a problem. For others you should look at, okay, at least it should be clean, and ideally you can also, those people who have the chakki at home, you can also roast it and grind it in your own
Hmm.
chakki,
Yes.
you know.
Even ma'am, the amylase rich foods were earlier prepared that way
Yes,
only, right? Like
yes, amylase is
sprouting was done and
yes.
then the roasting was
And
done.
in fact, ARF is what we always use as, weaning foods
Yeah.
in early weaning. So it has a lot of benefit. And ragi, so even in the ARF, we have sprouted ragi and sprouted moong as a combination, which is a
Correct.
great combination.
It's an interesting question. How to identify processed versus unprocessed minor millets? These days, too much processing of millets is happening due to slow increased demand. So, how do we identify that the millet that we are buying is not processed?
Um,
I think this is,
General, yeah.
I mean, the coarseness of the flour
Hmm.
itself will tell you whether it is, processed or not. Because beyond that, what can visually show you?
Or
Nazia,
else you buy
Okay,
the
I
product
get the
and
question what she's trying to ask. That see, one is especially the minor millets which are there, like the foxtail, etc. The hulling needs to be done.
yeah.
Otherwise, it will taste very bitter.
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't taste so good. So one thing because we have a lot of young students here, all processing is not bad. Okay, some processing is required. In fact, it can also make the food more bioavailable.
Correct.
However, too much of refining, okay, of it, then again the fiber will go away. So
Right.
that needs to be avoided.
Correct.
Okay. So even when you're looking at commercial preparations like your pastas made of millets or noodles made of millets, we need to make sure that the fiber for which the good intent which we are eating the millet needs to be retained. And
Correct.
a lot of onus also depends on the industry for those
Very true.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my question is, does sprouting or roasting change the caloric value?
The sprouting definitely will enhance the
Yeah.
calories.
Caloric.
For sure. Yeah.
Okay.
yes,
Millets are very rich in
In
fiber.
fiber, yes.
Yeah,
That you
very
have
rich
already
in
said.
mentioned.
fiber.
Yes. Over to you, Rita ma'am now. Thank you so much, Nazreen ma'am.
Thank you.
I have absolutely no words to
Seriously.
say what a wonderful lecture this has been, Nazneen. I'm so happy to have you speak to the girls who must have definitely understood everything and are coming out with questions because now their minds are thinking. And that we have seen in this, So, instead of formally thanking you, I want to also ask you to do one more thing. We will definitely want you to come and give us a few more lectures on certain topics because you have spoken in a manner which the girls definitely are going to be very, very happy with. I can see that from the responses that we get.
Sure, ma'am.
So,
I'd love to.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for sparing your time. And I know what a day it is for you today. Such a busy day, but you accepted our invitation. I'm very, very glad about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It's always a pleasure to connect with you and Shama ma'am and the college. And
Thank
of
you,
course,
ma'am.
students are very dear to my heart. So it's always a pleasure to come back. And I will share this presentation.
Thank
Yes,
you so
ma'am.
much,
Yes,
ma'am.
just send it to me. Yeah.
The latest
Thank you.
slides are all individual